There are not many of us who have families today that have not been touched by Alzheimer's in some kind of way. And to have someone like that in your family is very emotional, thought-provoking, and makes you think all kinds of things because you remember how they used to be and how they are now. Many of you know that I'm from Washington, D.C., and I had a very dear friend who was a victim of Alzheimer's. I mean, I could tell you several people, but I want to tell you about this situation. Her name was B. Smith. B was one of the most charming women you will ever know. She was a model, an excellent model, an African-American model. She modeled for Mademoiselle magazines, and you know she had to be tops to go there, and so many others, and modeled in the runways in Paris, and you name it, B was there. When B came to Washington, she was ready to do some other things, and she did do other things. She loved to cook, and she was on several TV shows, cooking her favorite dishes and just enjoying that. She wrote several cookbooks, and everybody clamored to get B. Smith's cookbooks. Oh, she was just a magnificent person. She was beautiful to look at, and she was a beautiful spirit. She was an overall beautiful woman. Her second husband's name was Dan, and he was so loyal to her, and when you saw her, you saw him. He was so supportive, and they enjoyed a very, very happy marriage. Of course, you never know what goes on inside the house, but I'm talking about from the outside. We had no reason to think that they were not a happy couple. And of course, she had several restaurants that she opened, and people enjoyed going to B. Smith's restaurant. The last one I remember that she had was at Union Station in Washington, D.C. And Union Station is where all of the Amtrak trains are. And to be there in Union Station was a wonderful place to have a business because people were traveling all of the time. And Union Station has all kinds of shops anyway. They have a food court, and anything you want, you can find it there at Union Station. Her restaurant was a very elegant, upscale restaurant. So you know if you were going in there, you were going to have fine dining. And a lot of people would go there, especially after church, because Union Station has a parking lot, so parking is not an issue there. And we loved going to B. Smith's restaurant. And quite often she was there. And when she was there, she would come in and speak to everybody and make herself known. And her husband, Dan, was right there by her side. And they would even sit down with you and just make little small talk. And of course, when that happened, you know you really felt special to be called a friend of B. and Dan Smith. Well, B was overcome, I guess you would say. I don't know the correct term that you could use. Alzheimer's. She had early onset Alzheimer's. And of course, you know, it happens so slowly, little by little by little, when all of a sudden you notice, and it's a big thing after a while. It's a big thing. But Dan was right by her side. She didn't have to go to any nursing home or anything. He took care of her in her large home there that they shared together. And I'm certain that it was something for him to take care of her. But I'm sure they had help coming in to help with her so that she could have the best care possible. One day in the newspapers, there was an article where Dan announced that he was bringing his girlfriend into the home to help take care of B. I pause for you to let that sink in, because no one knew that there was a girlfriend. And when the girlfriend came on the scene, now, if you have ever had a family member who has Alzheimer's and you are the primary caregiver, you can understand perhaps that you don't necessarily have to have had a girlfriend or a boyfriend before your spouse contacted the disease. So it could have been something that just happened. Alzheimer's lasts a long time. And I think her onset started in 2013 and she passed in 2020. So she had it for a good bit of time. And you know, it gets worse and worse. But he said that rather than going out to a girlfriend's home, he brought her into the house so that she could help him with B. Oh my goodness, Washington had a fit. At least her friends, her people. Oh, it was the talk of the town. But I guess he wanted to be honest about that. He wanted people to know that he was having problems. He had a wife with Alzheimer's, and sometimes people with Alzheimer's can live 20 years. So then what do you do in a situation like that? So he was honest about it. He brought Alex, that was her name, into the home. And from what we understand, Alex helped Dan to take care of B. And they provided excellent care for her. At least that's what we're told, and that's what we believe. We have no reason to believe that they did not take care of her with the greatest of care. And the problem became a bit of a controversy in Washington as people talked about that situation. And I bring this to you for your consideration. If you were in a similar situation with someone with a long-term illness, especially something like Alzheimer's, when the mind is just eroding and the person does not even know anything that's going on. And of course, from what we understood, B accepted Alex, just like she was a friend, and she was a friend. And Alex was right there at B's beck and call, just as Dan was. So my question to you is this, my friends. Do you think there was anything wrong with that? Do you think Dan was wrong in bringing his relationship into the house? Do you think it was any kind of guise that he was doing this? I want us to give this some real consideration, because I kind of feel on the one hand that he wasn't wrong for that. I think he needed some companionship. He deserved to be happy. It wasn't like they were flaunting anything in her face because she really didn't know anything that was going on. And I'm certain that they did not just have outward manifestations of any romantic kind of interludes going on in front of her. I'm sure they were discreet. So I'm wondering what you think about that. Do you think he was wrong in bringing the object of his affection into the home? Or should he have left her on the outside and then gone to see her? When you think about it, with Alex being right there in the home with them, that means that Dan could give better attention to B because he didn't have to leave the home. And he said that Alex was a source of comfort. She helped him in many ways. So that means that she could go grocery shopping. She could do so many things. She could help to bathe B. There's so many things that a companion can do. I'm wondering if you think that he was wrong in doing that. What would you do if you were in his spot? And you never know when this kind of situation is going to happen in your family. Perhaps it has. If something has happened like this in your family, why don't you make a comment down below and let me know what you think? Many of us have had spouses who were ill. I had a spouse who was ill, and I had to take care of him before he passed. You probably have been through a similar situation. However, he did not have Alzheimer's, so he was aware of things. So you see, there's a thin line there. Now, I know the wedding vows. Don't tell me about wedding vows. I know the wedding vows say, through sickness and in health. Through sickness and in health. Well, he was right there by her side, through sickness and health. So what do you think about that? Do you think he should have had Alex to just stay out? Or was bringing her into the home to assist a helpful thing? I want to know what you think about that. Please respond.